Hey everybody, this is Jason Fabok from Ghost Machine Productions, and you're watching the Bat Fanatic podcast.
Listen up, Gotham.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Hiya, Buttons. It's me, Harley Quinn.
This is Batman.
This is Robin.
Tune into the Bat Fanatic podcast.
The Bat Fan Addict Podcast.
The Bat Fanatic Podcast. The Bat Fanatic Podcast with Sammy Warmhands.
With Sammy Warmhands.
The Bat Fan Addict Podcast. Bat Fan Addict Podcast.
Although, Sam, you might think about changing the name.
Hey everybody, it's the Dark Knight of Rap, Sammy Warmhands, and this is the Bat Fanatic Podcast. Third try, we're going to do it. As always, I'll be joined by my co-hosts, Dunk and Gramps, as well as our friend Levi as a special guest. Want to shout out our sponsor, TNK Comics and Collectibles. Got events coming up all through the summer. This week at Comics and Cocktails, and then through August at Amazing Con in Vegas, and Galaxy Con San Jose. And today we are going to do our own Comic-Con recap. Once again, this one is FanExpo Dallas. I made it. I think I made it.
You did it.
Yay. Cool.
3 times.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Well, this was the con that, for us anyway, almost didn't happen. You know, there was the con that almost didn't happen because of the ice storm in the beginning of the year. The whole thing almost got shut down. But this one, I had a death in the family. That's why we're kind of behind on, you know, I was going to have our season started by now and was almost going to cancel this trip. And then we made it happen. Was going to do it anyway. And then Dave had family emergency come up, wasn't able to come at all. And so this is the trio for the FanExpo Dallas trip right here. That was walking in on day one. It's been perilous skidding here, but we made it. So thanks for jumping on tonight to chat about it.
Yes.
Just mad FOMO over here. That's all.
Yeah.
I'm here for the FOMO.
I was super stoked that, you know, Sammy got to come in because, one, it was the first time meeting the guy. And also, you know, it was a great lineup at the show. I knew he was going to be super excited to get some commissions done. And also, I mean, this was a huge con because it had some of our personal heroes.
Like Grandpa Batman was there.
Yes.
I was a little starstruck.
Frank Miller was there. Sean Murphy was there, making up for when he missed previously.
Oh, did he cancel last year or something?
Well, something, I think it was during the COVID stuff. He was scheduled to be there, and then
COVID happened.
Yeah, COVID happened.
I'll never forget.
Everybody canceled.
Yeah.
So
when the world
he was
shut
supposed
down.
to be there, I think, when White Knight first came out.
Wow.
So it was really cool to finally get to meet him.
Oh, that was the first time?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that. That's cool. Yeah, and it was funny. We were having, I don't know, we were having like our second or third meal together, and I was like, it's weird how this doesn't feel weird. It just feels like, because I've known you for years. It's kind of like seeing Dave. It's like we've known each other for so long that at this point, hanging out in person just feels like, oh yeah, I haven't seen you in a while, you know?
Just another
like
day.
It's been a while, but you know, everything just felt so normal. It wasn't even like a new thing. It was crazy.
Also, Klaus Janson was there.
Yes.
David Finch was there.
Yes. Massive
Jeph
lineup.
Loeb was there.
Yes.
Arthur Adams was there. Frank Cho. Andy Kubert. I mean, the list was just, it was like an all-star list of who's who in the comics world.
Yeah.
Was there. And then an awesome celebrity lineup.
Dude, the celebrity lineup was insane, and I didn't even get all of the commissions I wanted, let alone go over into autograph land. You know, I only went over there for one thing, which I'll show you guys, but it's hard because, like, you do want to meet these people, but you also got to kind of prioritize what you're going to do, and ultimately I'm there for the art. So I'm going to go with my comic people first and foremost. And when it comes to that, you know, I was joking with Gramps it was kind of like my wife and I going anywhere. We're at a store. I'm 50 feet behind, like, slow down, right? And I'm hauling ass. I'm on a mission at a con. And I said, I have never been to a con with someone less urgent than you before. Like I'd be racing around and they're just like, do, looking around. I was like, I'm trying to get on commission lists and shit, right? But this is me at my leisurely con pace because I felt after MegaCon, and then I just got that Bermejo piece in the mail the other day, that like I'm feeling good with my collection. And I already know that I have a budget that does not exceed the amount of people I want to try to meet.
Right.
Therefore, I'm going to catch whoever's available, and I'm going to be happy with any of those people, right? I'm still trying to get in, though, so I can get on lists on Friday because I'm leaving Saturday. I got to pick up, right? But even me at this relaxed, like, yeah, I mean, whoever's around, I don't matter. I'll still be looking like, where the fuck did they go? You know, and you guys.
We were like, I mean, me and Levi, we like to go to cons together, and yeah, we kind of just leisurely browse.
It's the cowpoke stroll, you know, Dallas, Texas, leisurely walk.
And it was almost equivocal to, like you said, shopping with your wife. I can take my wife to a department store.
Yeah.
And I will turn around, and then it'll be like ghost town. I'm like, where did she go?
Got things to do.
Yeah, man, I'm on a mission.
And I knew that. I knew what you were doing. I knew. And it was kind of like when Dave was there years past. I mean, Dave, you can't keep up with him.
Well, Gramps goes, I wish you had dyed your hair again so I could see you in the crowd. I'm like, oh, yeah. Didn't think about that.
Sam was like Flash over here. Like he zips around. Dunk is more like Mr. Worldwide, where like just everyone's his best friend. So
everyone knows him. He knows everybody. It's just like dropping names.
Well, and let's start with a couple of those folks, because right away when I got to Artist Alley, I'm trying to figure out where is Sean Murphy, because first of all, we had prearranged something. I was going to bring him a blank. And before I even make it to Sean, I'm walking through and I hear somebody say my name. And sure enough, Chris, the Batman statue collector. And he taps on my shoulder, and I did a quick little, it's like a 30-second interview for his video, you know, because he covers the events as well. Now, you had said, Dunk, that he's been to other Texas cons before. So is he local there?
No. He's from, like, is it Kansas City?
I want to say Kansas City.
Somewhere north. Yeah, I mean, he travels, but he's there every year.
He gets the con circuits.
Yep.
But yeah, ran into him right away, which was cool. I had finally met him in person just a few months earlier at MegaCon when I met Dunk. And, you know, we ran into a few people while we were there. This is Josue that was just passing by while I was in line for the one celebrity that I went to meet. And I like shouted him down like, oh, hey, you know, it's always cool to be in a totally different state and be running into people that you know from the internet.
Yeah, that's when you know social media can work for good.
Yeah.
You know, it makes the world a little smaller. There's a real community sense when you go to a convention and you're like, oh, yeah, I know you know, from this. And it just makes the world smaller. And, it, you know, that's the good side of social media. So it is pretty fun to meet people that way and see them in the flesh.
Yeah, definitely. And again, us seeing each other for the first time, before I even got to the con, I already had my sketches covered. Again, I was very content going into this because, first and foremost, Gramps had drawn a sketch cover that was a Tim Sale homage for the Bat Force Times. This is a couple years ago. And I was like, that is fucking incredible. Because you don't have an art page, Gramps. You post your collection and other things that you're interested in, but I had no idea. And so over a long period, we brainstormed what a Tim Sale homage could be for me. Because I never got to meet the man. Speaking of cancellations in the pandemic, I had tickets for Emerald City 2020, and he was going to be there. And obviously, the event didn't happen. I had other opportunities to attend cons after that while he was alive, but he didn't attend the same ones that I was at. And so Gramps was like, dude, I got you. And we were passing back and forth different panels, different covers, like, oh, what if it's something like this or a blend of this and that? And he wound up recreating that iconic panel from The Long Halloween that's just spectacular. You did amazing work on that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you sent me 2 books, and
I sent like a textured one and a plain one. I was like, whatever you think, because I like to give choices at a con. I'll be like, hey, I got this blank, I got that one. What do you think? Some people like a funky colored one, some people don't.
The textured one has like all these shadows of bats, right? And it looks like if you drew something on it, bats would be flying around the subject. And when I saw that, I was like, no, we're not going to use that for the Tim Cell one because it would just seem out of place. It looks like a horror cover. I need something that would match that. And
this is the surprise, because we had talked about the one. And again, I just sent like, oh yeah, draw on whichever one you like, and I figured he'd just give the other one back to me.
It's like, you know what? This would be cool with some Kelly Jones image. But I don't like to draw images that are already on covers, because otherwise you're just creating a cover.
Right.
I like to draw interiors and put them on a cover. So I was like trying to find the right image. And then I found this really small panel in Red Rain. He's like flying up the steps of the Batcave. And I was like, oh, that would be so perfect. It's really small on the page. Like it literally takes up maybe 1/8 of the page. But I mean, the pose, it's just a masterpiece. And I'm sitting there trying to recreate this going, man, I know his inker hates him because this is just this is just one small little panel compared to the rest of the book. And I'm like, wow, this is it. For one, it's kind of a teaching experience for me, but also it makes me really appreciate those artists to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
You're trying to fill someone's shoes and you're like, oh my God, I don't know if this is going to work. And then drawing on that textured sketch cover, you can barely see your pencils.
Yeah, totally.
Because of all the texture work. And I'm like going at this blind. And I got so far as to do some pencils, and I reached out to Kelly and I was like, hey man, I'm going to gift this to a friend with your image. Is that okay? So he gave me his blessing. He was like, yeah, that's really good. So I kept him in touch with the progress.
And you guys know each other from Bat Force Radio?
Yeah, we talked. He does our annual Spooktacular.
Right.
Every October. And so, I kept him in touch with the process, and that was really encouraging to see the artist actually say, yeah, I like it. That looks great.
Yeah.
So that was the first time, but it was really cool. So, yeah, I was super proud of those, and I'm really glad that they ended up in a great home. So,
dude, yeah, they turned out incredible. And again, I was so shocked by, oh my God, you did 2 of them. And Kelly is another person who I have never got to meet. And I grew up seeing his stuff on the Nightfall covers. That was the era that I came up in. And so he's been on my bucket list for a long time. And so it was definitely really cool. And not only was it an accurate recreation, but being like so thoughtfully executed, and it's got like the red eyes and the fangs and all the different textures along with the texture of the bats built into the cover. And I mean, you were definitely right to choose that for this particular book because it really turned out great.
Well, cool. Thank you. I'll be honest, man. When I finished that, I was like, damn, I don't know if I want to give this away.
Well, now as I look at my wall, it sits right beneath Jonathan Glapion and just beside David Finch. So you're in very good company on this wall.
Well, I'm humbled, man. Wow, you're making this old man blush.
In fact, you're only one spot away from Lee Bermejo and Frank Miller.
Wow.
So you're surrounded by some giants there.
Oh, wow. Dang.
Plus, I feel like it's a rarity that you got a Gramps piece with long ears. Gramps is a short ears guy.
This is true. He's the Dark Knight guy. Yeah.
Might be worth more.
I want to go into the show a little bit. Our first stop as I mentioned, Sean Murphy. So we had a little chat with him. I don't think any of us got sketches that first day. Is that correct?
No, I didn't even know he was doing sketches. I just wanted to meet him and get some stuff signed.
Well, yeah, and you were on a mission for signatures. You brought a lot of books to get signed.
Yeah, I like to get signatures and I like to get prints. Just because, for one, budget-wise, that's just the easiest way to go.
But you can get a lot more.
True.
You guys are steering me into that original art realm. But man, that's
a point of no return, my friend.
Yeah. I'm looking at all three of you when I say that.
Duh.
I was watching the Batman Statue Collector coverage of Dallas, and there was a friend of his on there that had just got his first ever commission. And he got it from Sean, who's one of his favorite artists. And Sean drew the Joker from White Knight. And this guy was losing his mind. He got to watch this get drawn. He's never seen an artist make a piece just for him like that, right? His mind was blown. And I turned to my wife watching this the other day, and I was like, oh, man, this is the moment that guy's life has changed forever. Because you can just see it in his eyes like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
I want more.
Yeah.
I love this
really
feeling.
It really is insane to watch some of these professionals do it. And I mean, the way they do it so fast and effortlessly, because I was watching Sean, and, you know, Sean has his own style. He can be very realistic with his backgrounds and with his vehicles and things like that. Very technical. But with his characters, especially his faces, he still likes to keep kind of a cartoonish look.
Yeah.
And just to watch him just lightly make some very basic pencils. I mean, I'm just talking like maybe a small circle for the head or a triangle stuff and squares for the body and stuff. And then it just goes on with the ink and starts going. And I'm the complete opposite because I'm such a novice that I need like very defined pencils to know where to put the permanent ink down. These guys are just like, and then voila, there's exactly what you see on the comic pages. It's crazy. It's crazy.
How long do you think he was taking per commission? It was like 2-3 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if he was
those quick sketches. I mean, yeah, it was.
He's only getting faster because it was like at first it was like a minute to do like the regular one, like a quick little Batman. Now he'll do like a full cover page, like 3-4 minutes. It's like, dude, you know how long that's going to take me? Like, give me like 17 days.
Well, yeah, I mean, his work has become, in terms of like his con sketches versus when I met him in 2021, he's definitely putting a lot more care and time into it because his style is very loose and sketchy. You know, we've talked about guys like Capullo and stuff like that where it leaves a lot to the inker, right? But when you take the pencil out of his hand and you give him a marker and you go with that real loose, sketchy style,
he goes nuts.
Well, it can be abstract sometimes or it can be fucking awesome. And so watching the way that he's developed his con sketches, it's really impressive to me because he's got a rhythm down that's quick and efficient, but they're more detailed. They pop out of the page. It's a much different thing than just a couple years ago.
And what I liked what he was doing, and we watched probably him do about 3 or 4 plus our own.
Yeah, like this one.
Yeah.
Dude.
Levi?
Yeah. Took him like 3 minutes. And he just, I don't know. I love seeing, I've been getting RoboCop sketches from people for a while. And,
oh, really?
Yeah, I have a Jae Lee one. And I love it when they make it their own style. I don't like it when they just mimic it. And both Jae Lee and Sean Murphy, it's their art, right?
Yeah.
So I was really happy to have that.
But one thing I noticed him doing on some of these sketches is adding cityscape backgrounds or kind of some side panels to make the image really pop and give a 3D look to it. And I don't know of many people that do a cityscape behind, you know, a picture on a con sketch.
Well, and again,
Because-
very
yeah.
efficiently. Yeah, there's generally not a lot of background, but he also does it in a way that's like he's not eating up a bunch of time doing it or detracting from the character by doing it. You know, it just gives it a little background, foreground to kind of push and pull, you know, what you're looking at.
It was really cool.
Yeah. What's always drawn me to his work, especially, is his very expressive brushstrokes.
Yeah.
And so, like, you don't need a lot for the expression to come through the page. Even with, like, the final touches on that RoboCop piece, like, he finished it up by just doing a little bit of white ink splatter. And it just, like, it's not a lot, but it's just enough to where you're like, that's really cool.
Well, and once he started sketching in color, I think that also made a big difference, because if you look at his remarks from like 2 years ago, I mean, they're cool. I have a bunch of them, but
They were just Sharpie.
but they're
Black
more
Sharpie.
one-dimensional, than the stuff that he's been turning out. Like you said, a little splash of white, a little splash of red, and bam, that brings the whole thing to life, you know? It's like when I got that Tony Daniel Bane, he did the same thing where, you know, he's got his whiteout pen, and he's just adding little details, and he's like, okay, I think that's it. Whoop, you want the red eyes? Okay, I'll give it the red eyes, you know? And like, just those tiny little details can make a black and white piece just really pop off the page.
Yeah. He had markers, he had brushes with India ink, he had all kinds, and he was just swapping.
He had one brush, and I think he may have used it on Levi's thing, that really added that distorted type of background look. He's not doing that with a pen. He's got this brush, and he just and he's throwing the lines.
Yeah.
And it kind of gives that, you know, distressed look, and it's really cool.
Yeah, again, that like loose style with the right tool is just fucking awesome.
Yeah, he started at LA Como last year, and he was doing like full pages, and I was like, "What the f, man? I want one of those."
Yeah,
the hell? And then he started doing. Now he's like doing them, and I'm like, I can't wait to see him. And
yeah, he's coming
get a few
back up here in Oregon in September, and I'm definitely gonna hit him up again. I actually tried to go back. He was like, "I'm gonna." Well, there's a backstory for mine, and so it was going to be a separate thing. It was going to be a little more elaborate, right? But once I saw he was burning through these quick sketches, you know, they're $100 sketches, I went back the second day, and I was like, I hadn't even gotten my commissioned piece yet, but I was like, hey, while we're here, you know, I'd love to get, like, I love his Batgirl. Like, that's probably my favorite character design in terms of, like, something he redid, you know, and reimagined, and he's like, well, I'm already going to really go in on this one for you. He's like, so I'm going to limit it to one per person. I was like, okay, that's fair. And I was just like, all right, he's committed to delivering something very cool. I'm not going to sweat it. And, you know, we had talked about like, oh, yeah, remember we met that one time I brought the donuts? And he's like, oh, right. And so, of course, Gramps brings the donuts the next day, loads them up, him and Corinne.
And it makes him draw faster because he's hopped up on sugar and carbs.
that's how you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, not only donuts, but monsters as well.
Right.
It's like double trouble.
Yeah. I think he didn't realize who he was talking to when he said, oh, yeah, we like donuts. I was like, oh, you like donuts? We're the Dark Knight of donuts.
Since
here.
we're doing the Sean Murphy show, you also got to go to the panel that afternoon.
Yeah.
And our friend Taffeta up there.
Mm-hmm. Local girl.
From Heritage.
It was funny because he was talking about how he went to Buc-ee's. Everyone that visits Texas, they go to Buc-ee's.
Got to.
It's like the Walmart of gas
It's like
stations.
a Wawa. Like,
Okay,
you go to Jersey
I'm
or
like
something.
waiting for the description here. I didn't even know. I've played a lot of shows in Texas. This is actually my third different city. I've been to a con in Texas. I didn't know Buc-ee's.
You were actually really close to one. We could have gone. There's one out where Levi lives.
Buc-ee's
I
is
guess
like
I
a whole
missed
other
out.
convention center.
It's its own convention. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want a sub? You want to pump gas? You want to like, buy some socks? Go to Buc-ee's.
You want some beaver
Barbecue.
nuts? You want? I mean,
Beaver nuts.
yeah,
I just want to stop there. Beaver nuts.
yeah. That's some kind of little candy they have.
Okay.
But
They're
clothes.
sweet.
I mean, people actually do Christmas.
Yeah, I
shopping
buy
here.
my clothes from the gas station all the time.
People do.
Yeah, Buc-ee's.
It's
That
Welcome to Texas.
that hat he was wearing, that was from Buc-ee's.
Yeah.
So
So I didn't actually pick up anything day one. I was just dropping off. But the very next person that I went to see was this man, David Finch. And I had been waiting more than a year, since May of last year, trying to get in touch with Jason at Essential Sequential to get a Finch sketch. And I was like, can I get on the list for Phoenix? He's like, yeah, sure, shouldn't be a problem. And then, oh, he's too busy. All right, can I get on the list for Heroes? Yeah, shouldn't be a problem. Oh, he was too busy. And so, like, we had this back and forth over and over again. And then I saw him at Rose City in September, and he was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to see him next week. I can do it. I'm like, all right, cool. I'll shoot you an email. Shoot him an email. Oh, yeah, no, the price is twice that now. I'm like, well... I would have given you the money before. just ask, man. And so didn't happen, didn't work out. And this is the first time I've been at a show that he was at. And now he's got 2 levels of remarks. So for the price of the former head sketch, I was like, all right, I'm going to pick a couple blanks that have a little bit smaller space to draw on. Maybe I can get away with the remark price, right? And so I'm showing this to you guys ahead of time, and I was like, yeah, I'm not sure. I think I might have him maybe do a Marv or a Dwight or something. And I think it was Gramps. You were like, I don't know about that.
Well, the thing is,
because it was a pre-signed cover from Frank Miller.
It was a signed Frank Miller cover, and I was just like, I don't know of any artist that has the balls to draw over the signature of Frank Miller. I think a lot of artists would have said, no, I'm not touching that.
Too much extra work.
Well, I mean, one, to draw on something that already has a signature by someone else, but someone else
Right.
that, I mean, there's value in that. And you mess that up, you just devalued that signature as well. So, I mean,
The pressure.
Well,
Yeah,
I didn't feel
pressure.
that way because I've already got the Frank sketch, on a different blank of Marv. And so I was like, this one's just for whoever I think would be cool to add to it, And I really have not been sure who to give it to this whole time. And it wasn't until I was like, oh, Finch does remarks. I wonder what I have that would be a little bit smaller. And then I'm digging through my bin before I pack, and I was like, oh, I know the one. I know the one that would be great for his style, because all of his commissions are black and white, ink sketches anyway. And the amount of detail and just grit in his shit, I was like, oh, this would be perfect. Because I feel like if you're doing Sin City, you either want somebody who does the, like, Tim Sale, high contrast, big blocky color swatches, or you want someone with that real nasty level of grime and grit in their inks. And so, yeah, I just handed him 2 covers, and I was like, all right, I'm thinking, I could do it. And he just goes, this one. Like, I barely got it out of my mouth. He's like, that one. Yep, I'll take this one. I'm like, all right, cool. And he was so excited. He was like, thank you for bringing this. This is going to be cool. I was like, oh, really? All right. So, again, we've talked before about kind of picking the right character for an artist and not maybe asking them for the one they do over and over and over again. And I think we got great results from doing that once again.
I mean, he knocked that out of the park.
It's
I've never seen a
incredible,
Marv
yeah.
drawn like that.
When he goes...
And not just Marv.
Right.
Again, just the subtle little lines that he put as shadow behind Marv to really make it pop forward.
That
we were
background
studying
is
that.
nuts. It's so
Yeah, we
simple,
were
but it's
studying
crazy.
it. We're like, how does he do that? Because, I mean, the lines are so small between each other. And he's just going...
And they're all perfectly straight. And
Perfect.
What got me is I was like, he's got to be masking the figure somehow because there's no way to cover up the mistake. And there's some spots that will have like shadows or whatever, but there's other parts where the lines are going right up against that thin edge of his body. And you're like, I wish I could have watched him work this out and how he did it. Because again, it's just a small piece, but there's so much going on there. And I also, when I first gave it to him, because he was leaving for the Essential Sequential, VIP dinner thing. It was Friday evening. I was standing in line for quite a while, and the guy in front of me was getting multiple remarks, and I'll mention him in a moment. So he's like out the door. I was like, "Can I please give you this before you go?" And he's like, all right. He's like, "But I'm not drawing the trench coat." I'm like, "What?" It's kind of the signature look. He's like, "No, I'm not drawing the coat, because then you're just drawing a big coat."
He likes to draw muscles.
Yeah.
Yes. And it was so good that even his handler from Comic Sketch Art,
Essential Sequential,
same thing,
yeah,
whatever.
Not really, but yeah.
He's like, "I need to scan this." And he took out this little handheld scanner and scanned it.
Yeah,
Nice.
I'd never seen anything like that before. Actually, it was pretty cool. And then I don't know if you saw it. I think it was today or yesterday that Finch posted it on his Instagram too. So again, I like when the artist is feeling proud of the work that they did for you.
Yeah, definitely. And Finch is such a cool dude. Like, it doesn't matter what the price point is. He is going to give you his best work because he knows it's his name on there and he's got a reputation. And I mean, he probably overdoes what the price point should be.
Yeah, I was surprised because what I figured, okay, you're doing a remark that it's going to be just a smaller head sketch, but he actually did a good amount of, there's some good body in that bust that he did.
He did a lot of rendering on it.
Yeah.
A lot of shadowing, a lot of rendering. Yeah.
So
most guys wouldn't do that.
While I was in that line, the guy in front of me had this really large print of like the whole Bat family, right? And I think he had a photo on his phone of a previous one that was all the villains. And at the bottom, he had remarks, little tiny head sketches of all the characters across the bottom of the print because it had like a white margin. I was like, "Oh, that's really cool." And so he was showing it to Dave like, "Oh, hey, and now I want all the heroes on this one." And so I watched him do, I think, Catwoman and I forget what else. And, chatting a little bit. You're in line for a long time with somebody. You wind up, "Oh, that's a cool one. Yeah, that's me, whatever." And then after a few minutes, starting to talk to Dave and the guy who was at his table, and it's like, "Oh yeah, I came out from Oregon. I have a Batman podcast or whatever." And before I could get it out of my mouth, the guy in line goes, "Oh yeah, the Bat Fanatic podcast." And I was like, "What?" And so I've been talking to this guy for a while, who apparently is a listener of the show, and his name is Michael. And so we had a nice little chat there in line for a little bit. And then what was funny is the next day we were eating. Is that the one? What's the name of the place? Terry
Black's.
Terry Black's. We're eating, and it's after the show, I think late afternoon, and look over my shoulder, and "Hey guys, funny seeing you here." Him and his family were eating just like a couple tables away. At the restaurant. And so that was super funny. But yeah, he knew everybody. He even knew Levi on site because I think he had just binge watched a bunch of episodes, which I did the same thing before I left because I was like, "Oh shit, I didn't think to bring that." And so yeah,
he said he watched some episodes to get ready for the con.
Yeah. And so yeah, he knew everybody and was a fan of our various podcasts, and so that was cool to run into him. And,
shout out to Mike. Thanks for watching.
He goes to a few cons, right?
Yeah, man, he's from California.
I think I missed him at C2E2. So he was at Comic-Con Revolution, and like Nando FaceTimes me randomly on a Saturday.
Yeah, he was telling me that.
And I was like, "Oh, crap." And I'm like, "All right." Mike told me I have to release an episode. Mike, I will be releasing an episode soon. I promise.
Nice. So that's cool. So then your guys' next priority, I believe, was Jae Lee. Right. And Gramps, you got a couple different pieces. We had talked before on the last episode, we showed the commission of your dog Louie in the bat suit. And now we have Louie's partner in crime, Batgirl, And I love that he's got the hair coming out the back and everything.
Yeah.
That's so funny to me.
That is awesome.
So, yeah, I mean, Jay did Louis the last time he was in Dallas. Levi, was that also the time he did your RoboCop?
I think so. It was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
So Jay is the first artist that I've ever got a commission from.
Oh, okay.
And I'm blaming Levi because Levi has like 3 or 4 of his stuff on his wall. And I mean, he's got like, who do you have?
That's RoboCop, and then I think on the wall next to it is Mr. Freeze.
Mr. Freeze. Oh,
Yeah.
And you've
He's
added
got-
to it this weekend as well.
Yep.
Oh,
Got
nice.
Scooby-Doo this time. So
That is so random.
I know.
Dude, I love it.
When we were at Sean's table, you said, well, you could do RoboCop or Scooby-Doo. And he's like, RoboCop. He was like defiant.
Yeah, he had no interest in Scooby-Doo, Sean.
Like,
did
why
not.
the F would I do Scooby?
Yeah. Well, okay, long story
Well,
short.
Katana loves animals. I don't know.
Yeah, well, there was a lot of Scooby-Doo, like Frank Welker was at the con, and the Grey Delisle, who were Fred and Daphne. And I was like, oh, well, I'm going to get something for my daughter's room, so I'll get
Nice.
Scooby-Doo. And yeah, turns out that Frank Welker and Grey Delisle both sold out before I could get that signed.
Oh, wow.
Man.
Bummer. So, anyway.
So, yeah, he inspired you, Gramps.
Yeah, I followed Levi when he was going over to Jay's table to get his RoboCop. And I mean, I always loved Jay's work in the comics and stuff because he has such a unique style. I mean,
Yeah.
it is very distinctive. And you mentioned how we have talked about picking the right character for the right artist. He got RoboCop, and I mean, I've never seen a RoboCop like that. That was so cool. And I got a Daredevil. And I was like, I don't want just Daredevil. I want a beat up, pissed off, angry Daredevil.
Yeah.
And that's what I got. I mean, it's really cool. And I knew that he was a big animal lover, especially dogs. And we got talking at his booth, and I don't know, just on a whim, I was like, would you draw my dog? And he was like, yeah. He really wanted to do it. And it was so obscure. So that's how I got Louis.
That's him, by the way.
Sniffing nuts.
He apparently knows how to open doors and followed me right to the toilet.
Just
Yeah. So I got Louis, and then I was like, you know what? We got the female, his partner in crime, Posh. Okay, yeah, I guess I'm going to have to get Posh now.
Well, that's cool. That's a really unique set of commissions to have. I think
Yeah.
that, again, having something that's a little more rare kind of gets you that little extra from the artist, too.
Yeah, and he needed some photos, and he was going through my phone. He's like, "Oh, I like this one. I like the pose she's doing on this one."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he added the hair, and he was like, "I like this pose because she's turned up this way, which is very similar to the Louis photo." He's like, "Then I can add a cape on her." So yeah, it turned out really cool. And
then you also picked up Godzilla.
Yeah, I was like, just do what you want for how you see a big mean Godzilla. And Levi, am I correct? He drew Shin Godzilla?
That's what it looks like to me. It's
Yeah, that's what it looks
his
like.
version of Shin Godzilla.
Yeah. That's a really twisted, evil looking Godzilla. Like, I mean, that movie, have you seen that?
I haven't seen that one, actually.
That is a very unique version of Godzilla. So I was kind of happy he did that one.
I really like the Godzilla -1. I think we've talked about it a little bit, but that was my favorite movie that came out last year. I actually got, I don't know where the photo is. I'll add it in post. I actually got, after MegaCon, the John Boy Myers Godzilla sketch. And so he was at this con, so I brought it along. I was just like, oh, hey, you remember me or whatever. He was like, oh, yeah, thanks for your patience, whatever. He did it at like his next con and mailed it to me. Got a picture with him. And then when we were unloading our stuff in the kitchen at Gramps' house that night, he was just staring at that one. He's like,
Yeah.
man, this is really cool. Like the detail. And he's like, how much did you pay for this? And oh man, and I was like, dude, take it. He's like, what? I mean, you put me up at your house. You're driving me all around. You bought me breakfast, all this stuff. Like you made me these sketches, man. Like one friend to another, like, here you go. So now you got 2 Godzillas this weekend.
I know. I love it too. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's so cool.
Again, I'm feeling like very just, I don't know. The art collecting thing, it just makes me really happy. And especially these, like we talked about, watching stuff get made or these personal connections with the artists. Like, I just think it's so cool. And to be at this point now, as I motion toward my wall, you can't see, I just feel so happy with where I'm at and all the things that I got to enjoy this weekend. I was just like, you know what? Here, you love it. Fucking hang it up,
Definitely. Thank you.
Yeah, man. I want to talk about a couple others from Essential Sequential. Speaking of The Dark Knight earlier, you got Klaus Janson. You had a little chat with him. I saw him a little bit joking around at a panel. I realized after the fact that I'd never actually met him, but he's kind of a funny guy.
Yeah. He's one of my personal comic heroes. I mean, he's such an iconic dude. I mean, he's been in the business since the 70s. And I mean, the things that he's worked on, I mean, his bibliography is just, you probably take 4 pages of Wikipedia. But
when you were showing me the artist edition of Dark Knight Returns at your house, and it was really cool to see those side-by-side pages, or like with the transparency, to see the contrast in their styles. And man, sometimes Klaus had this real clarity that he could bring to it. Again, kind of like the stuff we've said about Glapion or whatever, but the way that he was able to distill it into this really solid, sharp thing. And then Frank would go and redo it like, no, it needs to be gnarlier. He'd kind of make it shittier on purpose,
Yeah, when we talk about the Dark Knight Returns comics, I know you've done the movies, but
yes,
we're going to talk about the comics. We're going to really deep dive into this. But if anyone who has seen or owns the Dark Knight Returns Artist Gallery Edition, you can see what we're talking about, because there are certain panels in the book where Klaus has done an excellent job making the images super clean and clear and precise, especially in like the death of the Joker sequence. And Frank was like, no, this is the point in the book where I want it to get darker and grittier. And I don't want it to be perfect. I want it to show the imperfections. And he re-inked certain panels to make Batman and Joker just look like they've been through hell.
Yeah, it's just got the energy and the chaos.
But it goes to show, in the first 2 books, how much Klaus actually, I mean, his inking just defines that book throughout. And not just Dark Knight Returns, but even their Daredevil run. And I mean, he's inked everybody. And so I had a conversation with him, just trying to tap into his brain a little bit, because I was like, when I do my own inking over my own pencils, it is tough. And he was like, you're right. It is tough. You really have to know what you're doing. Otherwise you can ruin the art. And when you're talking about like original art by some of these guys, back in the day when it was like, there was no facsimile, you're drawing on the pencils,
and there's no undo button.
No, there's the whiteout.
Yep.
But
and no fancy scanners.
Yeah. So maybe we'll get to talk to him sometime. But yeah, it was always a pleasure to meet him. Always meet your heroes. That's what I say. Always meet your heroes.
Well, now I've met all 3 of you, so bucket list complete. But, so I talked to a couple artists ahead of time. This is Joe Caroni, and he is an artist for Star Wars and for Lucasfilm. I have begun my Star Wars Hot Toys collection and was really wanting to get my first sketch done and have kind of a separate little area for Star Wars sketches next to those display cases. And so I've been really trying to research who I wanted to do to be the first one. And Joe's work is just insane. And his likenesses for like Daisy Ridley as Rey or like Jyn Erso from Rogue One, like they're so good. And it took me a while, but eventually I settled on, I was like, okay, I want to get a Kylo Ren from you. So we had talked a little bit ahead of time. And then when I got there, it was a situation where he's like, oh, no, I don't do show commissions. He's like, I put a lot of time into these. I'll work on it for like 3 days straight or something, and then I'll send it to you. He's like, so give me a little bit of time, and then I'll deliver that. I'm like, okay, let's not have this be without naming names. One of those ones that takes a year or 9 months or something like that. I just had a couple experiences. One I'm still waiting for, and it'll be a year next month. I was like, so I'm reticent to do that. You know, he like pulled up his con schedule on his phone, was like, okay, I can do it between here and here or here and here. And like, he's like, here's my personal phone number. Text me right now. And so, he was very cool about it. I'm looking forward to see what he does. But yeah, it's another one that wasn't picked up on the day. I did have another one prearranged where you guys might remember the Ra's al Ghul sketch that I got at MegaCon from Ivan Reyes. And it was just a quick remark, but it was really, really cool and great detail for, a quick ballpoint pen and pencil sketch that took like 3 minutes. But because it had one of those backgrounds like the blank cover that Gramps used for Kelly Jones, had the bats and some color hues and stuff going on, I was like, I think I'd really like to have this inked. And I've met Mustafa Musa a few times at different shows, and we had never quite connected on a commission, but I contacted him about this. I sent him a picture of it, and he's like, oh yeah, man, I've got you. So I went down to Mustafa, and I'll insert a zoomed in picture for the edit here. But he did a phenomenal job at maintaining everything that Ivan did while simultaneously adding little highlights and shading and depth and just cleaning up all those sketchy lines and stuff. And I'm very impressed with what he did here.
I was too. I saw the sketch.
Yeah, there's
which
a
he
side
did
by
in
side.
ink, right? The sketch is in ink.
It's a ballpoint pen with some pencil shading.
Yeah, and what he added, I think
I'm most
amazing.
impressed by the subtlety of it, because it doesn't look like some other artists, oh, well, I'm just going to fill in a bunch of... No, it's like he took every little line, all those little stray lines in the hairline and stuff. He went over each one of those. And I wish I could remember... I can't remember if it was Bill McKay or... There was an artist sitting right next to him at his booth. And when I went to pick it up, he's like, oh, hang on. Before he would show it to me, he showed the artist right next to him. And he was just like, fuck, man. He's like, it's not just that every line is so precise, but like, and I just thought that was cool to see another artist also really appreciate.
Well, even the way he added like the white eyes and then the white glare on the, little cape circle things.
Yeah, and kind of on the fur and the coat and lots of little places in the hair.
Yeah, in the hair.
It's very, very good. And so I was so impressed by this that I emailed him again, like right after the con, and I sent him a picture of another, it's a Harley pencil sketch that I got a couple years ago at Emerald City. A local artist named Courtney Westergaard. Incredible likenesses, but they're pencil sketches. And on this wall, where everything's kind of high up and there's a million things up there, it just doesn't really stand out. So I haven't actually had it displayed in a while. And so I said, hey, how about this for Rose City? Because he's coming to Portland too. And he's like, yeah, man, let's do it. So I'm really excited for our next one. Nice. This one being like a side profile remark is not quite as much going on. And so he did a lot with a little. But this Harley that I'm going to send him, it's like a Margot Robbie lifelike pencil, and like it's got her hand up here. I think she's like twisting her hair or something like that. It's got the collar with the pudding and all the stuff. There's a lot more going on. It really fills the page, and so I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do with something like that.
Okay, now you're giving me ideas about maybe giving or getting like inking commissions of my own stuff.
I think you should, because like I've been doing, color commissions on occasion where I even hit up Sabine Rich, her rep at Unknown Comics, because, I got that great Harley from her at Mega, and I was like, hey, does she just take color commissions? Because I've got plenty of black and white sketches that I'd love to bring. And we didn't end up working anything out, but this was, I think, my first time just bringing something to be inked. And honestly, I'm like, oh, this is a thing now, like, and especially if you're talking about your art, to me, it's like with music, where I will make a recording I'm really proud of, and then I'll give it to one of my favorite mixing engineers and have him bring it to that next level. Like, oh man, there's nothing cooler than having your work translated through somebody like that you really admire.
Right. Yeah. That'd be nice.
Well, our next one, I'm going to show also from the Essential Sequential side. Legendary writer just announced a new chapter in the long Halloween saga, The Last Halloween. We have Jeph Loeb.
Yeah.
He's a character. I like him.
That was, he almost like, we were talking and I showed him, just on the phone of your sketch cover, and he was like,
cool.
He was like, talk about how close him and Tim were. And he's like, we're going to finish the story, right? And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like,
well, yeah, because they had announced it like not long before Tim passed away.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that they were going to be, I thought that little one shot was all that they were going to do with the story.
Oh, maybe I'm mistaken, but I thought at the time, I was like, oh shit, they were just
randomly having it here.
Oh, you have it right there on the
I
desk.
just thought that right there was Tim Cell's last work.
Yeah.
And I thought that was it. And he's like, no, I'm going to get, and he looks down at Klaus, and he's like, who else did he say? Eduardo Riso.
And I think, is Mark Chilcott, is that his name?
Probably. He's a very Cell-esque artist, yeah. But
yeah,
he
this
said,
is a really cool lineup that's going to be on this Last Halloween book.
Yeah, he's like, it's going to come out in October. I was like, oh my God.
Sweet.
He's dropping little nuggets right here.
Yeah. Very
That was
cool.
really cool. He announced it later in a panel, but he told me before the panel.
Yeah.
So.
Got that inside track.
Yeah.
So speaking of panels, when you went to Sean Murphy, I had gone to pick up my sketch from this next artist, and he happened to be doing a panel. So I was like, well, let's go check it out. And Anthony Marquis, I always called him Marquez, but he introduced himself at the panel as Anthony Marquis. So we've been doing him a disservice there, but I wanted my first Shazam to be from him. You may remember I tried to get a Shazam in Portland earlier this year. It didn't work out. So I thought, who better than the Fleischer, Bruce Timm, Darwin Cook influenced Anthony style. And what I didn't realize is I was walking into his panel where everyone had paper and pencil on the desk, and I was like, what's going on? And it was actually a tutorial. He runs the Kubert School, and so he was actually teaching us to draw Superman. I have my little FanExpo pencil from the thing, but I was just watching it for a while, and then I was like, fuck this, I'm going to just draw it, I guess. I used to draw when I was a little kid, and so I busted out the pencil and tried to catch up real quick, and wound up having to erase a bunch because I was kind of jumping in halfway through. But yeah, that was pretty cool. And Anthony's a super nice guy. I mean, I had a great interaction with him at Mega. He did that year one Batman cover for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was cool watching his process because, again, you kind of have a different appreciation when you watch how they do it. And so I didn't see him make my sketch. I went to pick up my sketch and watched him draw Superman. But yeah, it was really cool.
He's a great dude. I had him at ZapCon. I had him do this Alfred for me.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
actually looked at our old video and I was like scrubbing through like, where was that Alfred? I want to see, because I was trying to decide like what character to get, you know? And I was DMing him like, well, what about this one? What about this one? He's like, oh, I'll draw any of them. And I was like, okay. Well, I was like, how about you doing any Star Wars stuff? He's like, yeah, a couple times, not very much. And he left it at that. During the panel, he's like, yeah, they got me stuck between Ghostbusters and Star Wars. I hate Star Wars. And I was like, oh, really? Way to just hide that up the sleeve and drop it later. Anyway, I thought that was funny. But yeah, he did fantastic work, and his art is just a steal. I think he just loves connecting with the fans, and so, you know, highly recommend him.
Yeah.
I am looking now at a cosplay photo. I don't know this guy. Is this somebody that you knew, Gramps, from online, or did you just run into him?
We
Gramps
just ran.
hating Gramps.
It's twins. You think he knows?
So we did see you guys both in the same place.
Yeah, we ran into him outside of the Sean Murphy panel. I was like, I got to get a photo with this guy.
Nice.
Yeah, it was funny.
So the one celebrity that I went to see was Danny Elfman. And again, I was focusing
popular.
my money on commissions. So I was really undecided, like, okay, if I have any left, then maybe I'll get one from him. But I was already going to be there because my friend Kayla, who I met at MegaCon, she goes by the Caliph of Clowns. She's a Harley cosplayer. She's a huge Danny Elfman fan. And I just messaged her like, oh, hey, he's going to be at the con I'm at like next week if you want me to pick something up for you. And she was like, oh, my God, please. So I was like, yeah, no problem. I went over there Friday, and they had all the different 8x10s laid out, and I sent her a picture like, hey, which one do you want? You know, top two in case they run out or something, you know. And so I went over there and got this from him, and that was really cool. I had brought also my Batman soundtrack, and there was like a $60 upcharge for signing anything that you brought from home. And I asked two different people. I was like, I've got this much left. And it was, you know, it was more than the 8x10 cost, but it wasn't quite the, whatever they call it, the deluxe or whatever. And they're like, yeah, I don't know. There's nothing I can do, really. I'm like, all right, well, doesn't hurt to try. So I didn't get anything signed from him. I got that for her, and I did get to
How
talk
long
to
was
him.
that line?
I think it was an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah, next time you tell somebody no big deal. Yeah.
No. It was worth
That
it
is a
because
big
I was
deal.
like, one way or another, even if I can't afford it, and if I'm picking up something for a friend, I want to meet him anyway.
Yeah.
She was like, oh, thank you so much. I'm like, well, thank you, because I kind of got to meet him for free also. So, you know, it only cost me, you know, pain of standing on concrete, you know. But yeah, he was very nice, and I said, hey, you know, I actually walked down the aisle at my wedding to your Batman theme, and he seemed genuinely kind of like, oh wow, like that's pretty cool. Like he hadn't maybe heard that one, because you know, you figure with these guys, oh my God, I love your music, you changed my life, and whatever.
Yeah, a lot of people don't get away with that one.
Yeah, and that was the shorter of the two things that I could say to him, but he seemed really to really enjoy that. So that was a cool interaction. Then Saturday evening, so we get in our group text for the podcast, we get a text from Dunk that says, hey, I'm not coming, but Sean's got his Zorro after party and says we can come. And so I DM'd Sean about it and was like, hey, man, heard from Dave. We're going to try to roll through. Me and Gramps will be there. All right, cool. And he's like, yeah, it's 8 to 10 at Hoppin's thing. I'm like, all right, no problem. And then a couple days later, I'm like, wait, which day? And sure enough, it's Saturday. And I had booked my flights in such a way, I've done this before, whether it's driving or flying, where I'm in and out at the con. I got my drop-offs the first day, my pickups the second day, and then I'm fucking gone. Because if I spend any more money on food or travel, Ubers, anything, then that's one less commission than I can get. And so I'm very efficient with the travel. And I had to be at the airport at like 9 o'clock on Saturday. I'm like, fuck. And so there was just no way around it. And then Gramps and I went and scoped out where the place was the night before. I'm like, oh my God, it's right by the airport. So
it's right by the airport. It's literally
awesome.
10 minutes from my house.
Yep.
So it kind of worked out good because we could come home from the con around, I don't know what time.
Maybe
got home around
4 o'clock. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get cleaned up, packed
cleaned up, fresh up. Levi takes a 4-hour nap.
But yeah, then we got to roll through there, and I just drove separately in my rental, and it was great because I actually got to show up, talk to Taffeta and a few people for half hour or something, and you know they're kind of still setting up, and Sean's preoccupied, and so I'm not bugging him, but like I know he's also got my commission there, you know, and so
just eyeing him randomly.
Well, no, the whole thing was like I'm not going to draw this in front of people because I'm gonna go in on this one. And I don't want other people to be like, oh, I want something like that. Because when I reached out to him originally, I said, all right, so this is my third try of trying to get an ASBATS from you for the last like 2.5 years. I said, you've accidentally drawn regular hooded Azrael both times. Yeah. So I said, I'm hoping.
One for you and one for me.
Yeah.
Which was yours?
Yeah. One from Emerald City, one from San Diego, and now one from Dallas. And he's like, yeah, man, no problem. He's like, I'm not taking commissions, like proper commissions that weekend. He goes, but I'll make it happen. And so we're on like a group email with him and me and his agent, Jake, who's helping him out at the shows.
Jake.
And he's like, all right,
Jake.
So we're setting aside time to do this one piece this weekend. So I keep circling back by the booth, you know, it's not done. And eventually it was like, all right, well, you going to the party? We'll have it done by the party. I was like, fuck, okay, I better go to the party. I hope I don't miss my flight. But we went down there, and boy, did he fucking deliver, man. I don't know that I've ever seen him do a sketch cover that's
full body. Jesus.
And really so detailed on the character like that. And even I sent a text to Ben and Evan, who used to be on the podcast, zoomed in, and I was like, look, I even got that Sean Murphy signature thumbprint. There's a fingerprint in the background inking, because he always does that on his pages. But yeah, man, I think this is my 6th sketch or remark that I've got from him over the years, and my God, is it the best one.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
That kind of beats anything I've gotten. Time to change that.
Well, yeah, if you get the wrong thing twice, I guess he feels a little more compelled to give you that extra time. But man, he really spent the time on that.
Congrats, dude. That's freaking awesome.
It was a whole thing too, because like hanging out, we're chatting at the party, whatever. Taffeta just left, and she's there with Wands, who's taken over, and I'm chatting with him. We're talking music and all this stuff. You know, Gramps talking about his Dallas bands from over the years, and then I see Jake kind of give me a nod, like, "Oh, hey, I got it." So I run over there, and he doesn't have it. And he nods to Corinne, and she runs over, and she's got it. And it's like this big reveal. It's wrapped in plastic, and it's, you know, like I got to pull it out of, you know, thing. And then Sean just kind of like appears as I'm opening it, and like, "Hey, what do you think?" You know, I'm like, "Oh my God, it's fucking incredible!" Like I really did. I thought it was gonna be a head sketch, or at most Head and Shoulders. That suit being like maybe my favorite bat suit is just that it's angular and it's just 90s over the top mean, like, and it's got all the extra little belts and straps and shit, and he just did it all, and the claws on the hands, the handful of cape. It's so quintessential Batman. I was just like shocked. And
got the power stands.
Yeah, and he's like, "Man, I know I shouldn't say this, but I wish I hadn't had his head turned 90 degrees because I realized he doesn't have any of his face exposed. So then I should have given you a 3/4 turn. And then I wish that I had done this. Well, I shouldn't be telling you. Well, I am telling you. And so sort of like, there's things I would do differently. And I was like, dude, there's nothing you can say that would make me love this any less. Like, it's fucking great.
That's awesome.
So I grabbed that, threw it in my backpack, said goodbye to Gramps and Levi, and I made it to the plane, and it was great. But that is not the end, even though it's my end of the trip, because we talked before my epic MegaCon finale with Frank Miller, where I ran a mile to get that perfect photo with Frank after his panel, and we looked at the photo bomb of the worst picture that Gramps presented with Frank Miller, and now we have his redemption. Look at that shot.
Amazing.
So good.
So,
As Peter Weller would say, every good story is about redemption. It's beautiful.
yeah. So he was scheduled originally to be there on Saturday and do a panel about the 50th anniversary of Wolverine.
And I was going to attend that till he moves.
And Levi as well. And then they rescheduled to Sunday. So I knew my entire Sunday was going to be just all Frank all day because
lines and lines and lines.
Yeah, at Comic Sketch Art booth, they sold some comics that came with a signature ticket. If you bought this book, you got a ticket for an autograph. And he was doing, like, I think, signing from 11 to 1 and 2 to 4. And as you know, with a big marquee name like that, you have to show up hours ahead of time, right?
Yeah.
Because they don't just sell the tickets that they do for the books. They're going to sell more. And so I knew that on Sunday. But on Sunday, you had given me that original promo board that was in comic shops that they advertised the release of Dark Knight.
And it's like a 3-dimensional like countertop stand.
Yeah, I mean, it's big. I've got it right there. And it's about 16 inches by about 12 inches tall. Those things are very delicate. Very delicate. I
had thought about bringing it to MegaCon, and when I was looking at it, I was just like, I don't think I can safely fly with this, honestly. And when I was packing up for this, I looked at it again. I was like, man, it would be so cool. Because, like, I bet he's going to have my sketch done when I get there, and he's just not telling me. I bet he'll do something like that. And he's letting me crash with him. Like, it'd be so cool if I could give this to him and he could bring it to the signing. And I thought, there's got to be a way. And I started looking around, and I found the perfect box that was, like, just this thick and had bubble wrap and everything. And I was like, I think I can put it in this, and it'll fit in my suitcase just right.
So I bought 3 books. I bought one with the Daredevil cover, and then they had the facsimile of Year One, Mazzucchelli. I was like, I don't want the reprint. I want my original Year One issue signed. I forget what the third one was. Eventually, on Sunday, I actually got there kind of late. I was trying to get there by 10 o'clock when they opened the doors, but I didn't get there until about 10:30.
Gramps time.
Yeah. And I didn't realize that the signing was actually going to be in the celebrity area.
Oh, okay. And Levi, you weren't there on Sunday?
I went for like an hour and a half.
Okay.
And so, long story short, I went to get autographs and pick up a commission, and the autographs were pre-sold out, which I didn't even know was a thing. So
got it.
Yeah, we didn't even meet up on Sunday.
Yeah. You were in line for the whole time I was there.
Ever. Yeah. And sure enough, by the time that I get down to the Frank signing line, they had already started selling additional walk-up tickets.
Oh.
And was creating an overflow line.
That's how Elfman was. We had like a 6 deep, like snaking line, and then 100 yards.
Yeah. And we were like 20 yards away from the main line. And I was just like, you know what? I know how these FanExpo likes to work. First, they sell these VIP ticket people.
Yeah.
So 100 or so of them are going to walk up. And then they usually have about 2 to 3 people working the line. And they don't generally talk amongst each other. So they generally don't know what's going on. And
always a nightmare.
I was
Chaos.
like, there are going to be people that buy their ticket and then just get right in line. So I was a little upset about that and voiced my opinion to the guy. And I was like, I think everyone in line was a little annoyed with that. He was like, no, I'm watching the line. I'm watching the line. Everyone's going to come back here. And they did a good job. They actually did a good job of making sure walk-ups went to the back of the line on the overflow. So that was cool. So, yeah, I stood in line. It was almost 1 by the time I got up to get my signatures.
Wow, so that's like a 2.5 hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, brutal.
Yeah. But I wore, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Dave. I wore my Frank Miller American Genius shirt for his film.
Yes.
That was being released on Monday, the following Monday. And his CEO and the director, producer of his film, Celine Thomas, was at his booth. And she saw my shirt. She saw me wearing his shirt. And she was like, oh, my gosh. And she came up and introduced myself and, got a photo. And we just had a really good conversation. And she's so awesome. She is so cool. It was almost like I wore that shirt for a reason, and it worked. I didn't get any extra signatures, but she made sure that I was well taken care of.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a really cool experience.
I mean, I think that it's cool to be repping the classic stuff when you go meet somebody, but I think it's a little extra for them when it's like, oh, I'm still following what you're currently doing. I'm still excited about what you're doing right now, you know? And if they're out promoting, I mean, I know they're doing the anniversary Wolverine thing, but like really they're promoting the film, there's probably not a ton of people who are there for that.
And that's one thing that, has always been very evident within probably the last 5 years, but also that showed in that movie was that, yes, he's known for Dark Knight Returns. He's known for Year One. He's known for Daredevil. He's known for Sin City. He's known for 300. He's known for Ronin. He's known for all this stuff, but he's just like,
looking ahead.
I'm looking ahead. I want to do more. I know what I want to do in the future. And
I love they asked him, like, which superheroes would you like to reinvent? And he just goes, haven't I done them all?
Yeah, he's like,
like, haven't I done enough, guys? Like, I'm going to do whatever I feel like it now.
Right. And so after the signing, I had to go back to my car because I had so much stuff. I had a signed 1-sheet poster that they'd given me. I had a backpack. I had my books. I had so much stuff that I was like, I can't hold all this. So I ran back to my car.
I would never dare to put that stuff in my car and leave. Never.
I know. But, I mean, I only have so many hands. And then I picked up the promo board. Don't be mad, but I had to leave it in the car at first because I knew that
son of a bitch.
I had the panel later on, and that's where I was going to bring it in. So I was having an emergency, though, because that morning...
More donuts?
I had planned to drive in my truck, and my low engine light came on, and I was like, I don't have time to mess with this thing. I'm just going to grab the car and go.
Mine's just permanently on, but
yeah,
it's been on for 6 months.
I left my phone charger cable in the truck.
Oh, shit.
Texting and just phone service in an area like that where there's I don't know how many, 50,000 people all there. It just sucks my phone battery fast. And I was having a minor emergency because I'm wanting to, my pass for the Frank Miller experience was on my phone.
Oh, shit.
And I had literally 10% juice.
Oh my God.
Freak out.
I'm like, I got to find a cable.
And I'm sure those VIP photos are done on the customer phone, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I wanted to take some photos during the panel and whatnot. So I had to go to the car. It just so happens that the little man driving his car, checking license plates, is going around at that time. I'm like, oh, man. So I stop him and I'm like, hey, man, I am going right down the road to this 7-Eleven to buy a phone cable. And I'm going to be right back here in 15 minutes. And we're talking downtown Dallas, right?
Yeah.
I'm going down to Deep Ellum, which is the closest 7-Eleven I know of, and coming back.
I've been to that one.
Yeah.
Bought myself a couple of Gatorades.
And if you know the area, you got to have a big stroke of luck to make it down there and back in 15 minutes through all the red lights and one-way streets. And he was like, okay, that's cool. You've paid? I showed him that I paid. He goes, okay. And I don't know how. I think
you hopped the curb.
I hit all green lights. I made it back literally in 15 minutes.
Nice.
That will never happen again.
Some of that Frank Miller energy right there, baby.
Well, here's what's crazy. So I plugged the phone cable into the car, and I'm like, okay,
this motherfucker better work.
I'm going to wait in here. I'm going to relax stuff. It doesn't charge my phone. It starts sucking my phone battery.
Oh, no.
I'm like, what's going on here? What kind of cable is this?
You got the phone capacitor.
It's a 7-Eleven cable.
I don't know, man. I don't know. It was like doing the opposite of what I needed it to do.
This doesn't say iPhone. It says L phone.
L phone. So I'm like, I've only got one chance here. I've got to go into this convention, either borrow someone's cable.
Yeah, go to an artist you know really well and be like, hey.
I was about to go to Sean's table, and I was like, I'd already said my highs and goodbyes to them, and I was like, that would be awkward. But I was like, I need to find someone I know that may have a cable. So I walk in, and at this point, I'm like, oh my God, this is going to ruin this whole convention. But I happened to run into a booth that was selling toys. I asked them if they had a phone charger because I saw one of the guys have an iPhone, and they were like, oh yeah, I got a battery pack. You plug me in. And I was like, you earned my business. And I bought some stuff from them.
17 figs later.
Yeah. I got it up to like 50% or whatever. And this is why my wife's always telling me I need a new phone.
Yeah, Gramps is rocking like the iPhone 3 or something.
No.
I was kind of shocked. I was like, that is very small. That's
I literally walked
a few generations ago.
I walk about 3 booths down. There's this booth that sells nothing but phone cases and phone wires. So I get one and find an outlet. Okay. And by this time, I'm dying of thirst. Levi, you'll appreciate this. I'm dying of thirst.
And it's 95 degrees.
I go to Pecos Pete. It's $40 for this mug of root beer that you can refill. What? But that was quicker than having to walk all the way down to where the food aisle is. And I refilled that thing like 3 times right there.
Hell yeah.
And I was like,
might I recommend water next time?
Maybe so. Maybe so.
Next time you pull a homer.
Yeah.
Every
was that
year
Encino Man?
Yeah.
We first get to a con, within 10 minutes, I just turn to Gramps and I'm like, man, I gotta find something to drink every single year. And he just looks at me and he's like, it's like, we're getting sketches right now. We're getting autographs right now.
Gotta get in line, man.
We're not like Sam. We really don't plan all that much. We just go in the flow.
I was slightly stressing out on that first day because, I rolled in like early in the morning. I took a red eye, napped for a while, and I was like, okay, we got to go in at 3:00 to pick up our press badges, right?
No, you didn't nap. You came in, got to my house, and found the couch and just crashed. And I was like,
You're like, is he alive?
Yeah.
Did you check the pulse?
I'm up at my normal time. The dogs are up. My mother-in-law, who's staying with me temporarily, she's up, and we're just like in the kitchen. We're like, how long is he gonna sleep? I don't know. I don't know.
4 hours later,
it's 12:30 already. Yeah,
He was out.
okay. Yeah, and then he comes in his.
I came straight from work, drove 2 hours to Portland Airport, waited, all that to board, flew, didn't sleep for shit on the plane, had to get my rental car, then made it to your place. So, like, I've already been up for 24 hours by the time I see you.
Yeah, and so get some sugar in me. I want some photos because we've got the press pass. Thank you, Dave. I wanted some photos of Frank while he's signing stuff. Here's what's crazy. This is about 3:30. There was no one in line for him.
What?
No one. I did all this stuff all morning. I could have came back at 3:30 and got as many signatures as I wanted.
Wow.
It is Sunday, though. Sundays are
So everyone got there early thinking, we got to beat the rush. And then no one was there after the rush?
Right.
That's amazing. God, I wish I would have been there. I was watching
the
fucking movie the next day in the theater going like, I could have met him again yesterday.
I know. I was just like, this is amazing.
In the intro, Selene is like, we just flew out from Dallas. I was like, I just flew in from Dallas.
Yeah, so I got some photos, him signing some stuff. And then I thought the panel was at 5. So I was like, I need to go up there and find a phone charger and get ready for this panel. I go up there, they're lining up, they're queuing up right then for the panel that starts at 4:15. So
shit,
it actually worked out in time.
And you got your photo.
Yep. Later, I got my retribution photo. When he saw the promo board, he was like, oh my. And I was like, I kind of told him the little story behind it, of how you brought that to me. And he was like, I've signed a few of these, but you don't see these very often. And I was like, yeah, I know. I mean, they're kind of hard to find.
They're out there, but I've never seen a signed one. That's cool that he's like, there've been a few, but...
Yeah. And everyone in line was like, what is that? What is that?
And it's so old, it doesn't even say returns on it. It just says Dark Knight.
No, they were put out like in 85 to promote the book. And I mean, at the time, the book was just called The Dark Knight. It's not until it all collected that they called it Dark Knight Returns. So it was just to promote The Dark Knight. So got my photo with him, got to talk a little bit.
Did you tell him about the Aquaman photo bomb?
I didn't really have time.
Yeah, it's tough, man, to cram everything you want to say.
Yeah, I wanted to ask him a few questions, but really didn't have time. But it was awesome. It was awesome.
But you finally got it.
Got it,
man. That's great. And again, like, I wanted that piece to go to you because you are like the ultimate DKR fan. And so not only like we're doing the MegaCon thing and you're just like, man, I got this shitty one, and we had some laughs about it or whatever, but I was like, no, he has to get the good one, so I'm really glad that you got your good pictures with him and that he actually took a moment too to be like, oh, wow, this is cool. And, acknowledge that too. So I had a moment like that with Jae Lee the first time because I have the like full-size Hush poster that I'm like unrolling and he's like, where did you get this? Stuff like that, when they just take a moment to acknowledge that you put some thought into what you're bringing to them,
Yeah, because I mean, everybody brings DKR comics up to him. I mean, he's signed everything. What people don't realize is that he's just as much as a collector as we are.
Yeah.
And here's another thing is that I've had this conversation with, this was the last time he was in Dallas in like 2017. I think, what was it? Anyway, DC licensed so much stuff out that he's not even aware of most of the things, all the merchandise, all the toys, the game board that recently came out. He's not even aware of all those. most of the time.
Yeah.
So when someone
Like, I
brings
got these
something,
Dark Knight pajamas. Like, what?
yeah, exactly.
Dave, do you have a
someone-
Dark Knight fanny pack?
Not yet.
No, not yet. So when he sees something cool, he's like, wow, yeah. This has probably been, for me, the best con.
Yeah, this is one of my favorites too. Yeah, I wish you were there, Dave. It was a really good time, man.
I missed it.
You know, it's a good con when you leave early and you still feel like you got everything done.
Yeah, totally.
And what I really liked about the celebrities, I know we didn't really talk about it because we were focusing more on the comic stuff, but they had some really good celebrity guests. And I rarely do the celebrity stuff except if it's like really important. Like Levi and I saw Peter Weller last year, and that was amazing. But this year, I love the fact that they had some of the people from the Seinfeld show.
Oh, yeah, I forgot you did that.
I got my photo with Larry Thomas, the soup Nazi, and Wayne Knight Newman. I mean,
very cool.
That's awesome.
I was showing my friend, my college roommate, we used to sit around and just watch Seinfeld all the time. And I sent him the photos and he was like, what? I was like, yep, this happened today. And he's like, no way. So that was awesome. I loved seeing those guys. Very cool. Very
Levi, did you wind up seeing anybody else that we didn't talk about?
No, yeah, like I was saying, I got the Jae Lee commission. I picked that up on Sunday morning, and the plan was pick that up in the morning and then go get Frank Welker, who voices Fred and Scooby-Doo, and he's been the only voice of Fred, and then Gray Delisle, who's been Daphne for like 20 years. But as soon as I got the commission, I run over, and they're like, "Oh yeah, they're capped off." They're like, they pre-sold all the tickets. And I was like, I didn't even know that was an option, because half the time they do the pre-selling, half the time they don't.
Well, usually you pre-arrange your photo ops, like I think it's Epic Photo Op website or whatever it is.
Yeah.
There's always like, okay, you can get photos at 4:00 on Saturday or whatever, right? And then it's like autographs at table, and they never ever have a schedule. It's just kind of whatever. You can technically buy it there, but I'm always like, well, I don't want to buy it if they're not there when I'm there. So I don't do that with autographs either. I just roll up and hope, Yeah,
and Sunday's usually light, know. So I was surprised. But then again, Frank Welker has voiced everyone, Megatron.
Right.
He's been in a lot of stuff. But so
well, and just for example, like the size of the crowd over there in the celebrity section, it is shoulder to shoulder. You cannot move.
100%.
It is unreal. It's like being at a concert.
Yeah, Saturday was like triple that.
I was telling Chris, the Batman statue collector, he said he got sick afterward. He was going to join us, but he's not feeling well. I was like, man, I only put on a mask when I was in the Elfman line because it was so fucking crazy over there. But I think that's what saved me, because I was around the same people over and over that he was. But I don't know. Yeah, that area was nuts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Saturday reached a point, and I feel like that's half the reason why we left early, is we were like, it's just
not worth it.
Just shoulder to shoulder, no matter where you were. It wasn't just one
dude,
area or another.
We were even just trying to go through Artist Alley and find each other again to get out of there. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll be right there. And then it's like, fucking, how do I get through the,
Well, on Saturday, we were finally leaving, and there were just droves of people still coming in.
Yeah, like 3 or 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we lost Sammy, and there was a great Sammy hunt of 2024.
Well, I'll show you this. So part of it is because I wanted to go back to Joe Caroni and follow up, like again, of like, yo, I gave you my number, okay, we're gonna do this, I want to follow up, but I couldn't find him on the first day. It took me fucking hours of going through Artist Alley over and over and over again because his booth didn't have his name up top. And so I looked everywhere, I couldn't find him. So I was like, oh shit, I gotta go follow up. And so I run off when we're on our way out. But then I can't find him again. So I'm like, fuck this, I gave up.
We were literally almost out. And then Sam's like, oh, I gotta find this guy. Ding!
Well, because I'm flying away after this. So, like, you guys were going to have another chance to do what you need to do the next day. And I was like, oh, shit, I got to follow up. And I ended up not doing it. I ended up just texting him. But I did, on the way out, find what I'm wearing right now, this Sean Murphy T-shirt to wear to the Sean Murphy party that night. And so I saw that in passing, as well as the Harley, and grabbed those on the way out. That's my favorite Sirens cover from Gilliam March.
I got that Harley. Twins.
You have that shirt?
Yep.
Nice.
We also need to thank Sean for inviting us to the party. That was very nice of him. And
dude, so cool. It turned out to be
cool.
a Kickstarter thing, for people that supported the Zorro book.
Yeah, originally it was a Kickstarter exclusive, but then he was just like, hey, I just want my friends to hang out. So invited people, and when else are you going to get to hang out with one of the premier minds and talents in comics?
Yeah, and I saw Mustafa and a bunch of other artists rolling in as I was leaving.
Mm-hmm.
They were looking around, and I was like, oh, Sean's thing's right back there. So I don't know who ended up rolling through or how late you guys stayed, but it seemed like a really cool thing. And
I won a Zorro flask.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah, you won the drawing.
They had a little drawing. I won the Zorro flask, played a little trivia.
Because Sean will do sketches on different items, mugs and flasks and stuff like that. And he said there were only 2 in existence because the licensing is tricky or whatever. They let him make 2 for the party or something. And so Gramps has a 1 of 2 original piece there.
And, I was going to take it to him on Sunday to have him sign it.
Oh, he didn't sign it?
I left it in the truck.
Mm.
Next time.
Last shout out that I could find while looking through our pictures one last time here is the Glapions. We did see Jonathan and Tara a couple of times, and you got a fair amount of books signed, right?
Okay, here's what's interesting. So my wife went on a 2-week vacation to the Czech Republic.
Oh, right.
And she brought back some trades from the Czech Republic. And she brought back one that was
Death of the Family
in Czech.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is perfect because this name right here that you see on the cover, he is here.
Yeah, we were just talking to him today.
I know. So when I took that to them on Sunday, they were blown away. They were like, this is the coolest thing. I've never seen this.
Oh, cool.
And, Tara was taking photos of it. And because she was telling me that she actually has some family that's Czech as well.
Oh, nice.
I think like maybe a brother-in-law. And that was a really cool thing. I've got a couple of books in other languages. I've got actually a Chinese Dark Knight Returns that my friend Marcus brought to me one time. It's really cool to see these books in different languages and how they transpose over. But everything's really cool. I got Batman Europa, Death of the Family, and Batman Noel.
Yeah, they're pretty.
So now
cool
I'm going to
looking.
learn Czech just by reading the comics.
You're like those people who moved to America. I learned English watching Friends and Seinfeld.
Yes.
So before we wrap up, we talked a lot about Frank and a little bit about Selene. Did any of you guys, besides me and Gramps, go to the documentary premiere on Monday? The Frank Miller American Genius.
But I saw it Boston Fan Expo last year.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Cool.
That was a pretty cool event because they were doing a Fan Expo tour, and I was able to get into that thanks to Teasus once again. I also wore my Frank Miller shirt. I think he did he signed 2 books or he did 2 signatures. Whoever decided to stay after that, and I got my picture, but I have a COVID wall between myself and Frank. But I was pretty stoked about that too. But amazing film. We should review it.
Yeah, I was wondering if we should chat for a sec about it or if we should do an episode because I really liked it. And some
Definitely.
people have DM'd me that they were not fans of it
Really?
as well. So, there's other perspectives on it, but I had a great time.
And there's a good amount to cover, because even Neil Adams not being a fan of his art in the beginning and
Dude,
him still
Neil,
doing all that stuff.
I think I wrote this in my post about it, but Neil and Stan being in it posthumously was because I don't know if I'd seen a trailer or anything for it. I was just like, oh, Frank Miller doc, I'm there. And so to see those dudes pop up was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That part was really cool to see as well.
Well, what's crazy is how long it actually took for this to be released to the public.
Dude, they started filming 9 years ago, 2015.
Yeah.
And it looks like it went up until right before the pandemic, and that's kind of when they wrapped filming from what I could tell. Because they followed him all around the world, cons, different countries up through 2019. And there may have even been newer footage because, it looks like current Frank in his studio talking. But
yeah, I really like those scenes where it showed him working on books that I have.
Yeah. And I don't know if we really could do a full episode without having the movie to watch more closely again, but
There's talks about releasing it.
good. I hope they do. And I hope there's a physical copy. I'd love to have either a 4K or a Blu-ray of that on the shelf,
Same.
We don't get a lot of documentaries about these people,
What's surprising, because when I first bought the ticket, I think there were 2 seats sold in my theater.
Right. I was the first one who bought a ticket at mine.
I was like, you know what? I understand. Works kind of good for me because I don't like a lot of people when I go watch a movie.
Yeah.
And then you went.
Then I went, and it was everyone that was coming into the theater was there to see the movie. And the theater, it was a smaller theater, but there were a really good turnout. So that was really cool.
You don't
Mine
realize
was pretty packed too.
You don't realize his name is that big, is that huge. You don't have to be a comic fan to know who Frank Miller is, and that's the beauty of it. I remember when I watched the documentary, I was just like, "Holy hell, man! This is amazing." And then I speak to people about Comic Cons, and I'm like, "Oh, do you know Frank Miller?" And they're like, "Oh, the name sounds familiar." And I'm like, "Did you watch this movie and that movie and this one?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's his universe." And it's like, "Holy hell, comic books are dope." I know.
It's funny. I went home and watched 300 because I hadn't actually watched that since it was first out on video. I think I saw it in the theater and then when it first came out. So it'd been a long time. And man, it still holds up so well. What Snyder did visually with that movie, you can tell when effects are dated and certain things about it certainly are, but for a complete green screen movie like they make now all the time, being made in 2008, 2009 is fucking crazy. To watch that now, it's still so well made. And being on the heels of that film and talking about Frank's composition and the way he will orient a page and the way that Zack Snyder's in it and talks about how they essentially just use his books as the storyboards, and Robert Rodriguez talked about the same thing, and how you're really trying to bring to life his style of storytelling. It helped me appreciate the movie in a new way too.
Very much so.
Yeah, we could definitely make it a full episode.
Cool. Well, yeah, I hope they release that, and then we'll dive more into it. Oh, last thing I'll mention about it is it was a live stream event leading up to the film starting. So the first 30 minutes was actually a live before an audience Q&A led by Rosario Dawson.
Oh, in California.
Yeah. It's very cool. I didn't expect that. Celine Thomas came out and a couple people, but Rosario ran the whole thing. And, it was maybe kind of a little bit of a rocky start as they both got into their rhythm, but it turned out really cool.
Another funny thing about that is that, the artist Dustin Nguyen, he posted on his Instagram about...
Oh, yeah, he was there.
He was there. He was like, I didn't know this was the location that they were having the the Q&A. He just shows up and there's bam.
That's cool.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
Well, shout out to everybody at FanExpo Dallas. Thank you for having us to cover this event. I certainly had a great time. This is my third FanExpo event this year and third con this year, and they've all been FanExpo events. So you guys are killing it. Dave, what's your next con?
San Diego.
San Diego, month away, just about.
Go hard and then go home.
And go home hard. You'll have a great time.
That's going to be a documentary. I'm going to record. A lot of recordings, a lot of pictures. I might have to have like a webcam on me and just stream live all 100 or whatever hours I'm there.
Documentary.
Well, you can fill us in on that on the show, or you guys also subscribe to the Bat Force on YouTube, and you can see Dave's solo episodes as well on the Everything Batman podcast. So check that out. Thank you guys for sitting down with us. Levi, it's really good to meet you in person. I've heard your name so many times and feel like we hit it off right away.
Absolutely, man. Likewise.
You know, even though I was eluding you guys as much as humanly possible, I still enjoyed the time we had.
You did have some Texas barbecue, so
Twice.
What did you think?
Oh, it's fantastic. You know, there was great food in Austin last year at GalaxyCon. You know, there's always great food when it comes to it South by Southwest, but like the two places that we went were so good and so different. Like I got brisket sandwiches at two different places that were in remarkably different styles and equally good. I'm not like a adventurous food guy at all. I don't generally have like when in Rome, you have to try the fucking whatever the fuck. It's like, no, but if I'm in Texas, I'm eating the barbecue because like I would, it's the kind of thing where I'll eat it all weekend and then I'll get home and be like, man, we should find some around here because I still need more.
Dunk always talks about the post-con blues.
Yeah.
And, that is a real thing because
Shit gets sad.
You have so much fun in a short time on a weekend, and then you're like back to work, and you're like,
yeah,
this shit sucks.
Dude, mine was so brief. And like,
for me,
dude, so I flew home, after that crazy day, and for whatever reason, I didn't sleep. I was so fucking amped after Friday at the con. I didn't sleep Friday night. So I'm already only on like 4 hours of sleep. And then Saturday is the long day. We got to do all the pickups. We got to go to the party. Then I got to fly home. And then I got to drive 2 hours. And I couldn't even make it home. I told you guys I had to pull off and sleep in the car. And I set a 20-minute timer. I woke up 2 hours later at the truck stop, sleeping in the because I was just fucking toast, man. And then this week, I texted my wife, I think this con kicked my ass. Like, I'm so sore and tired.
Dude.
Like, I was the least motivated employee this week, man.
my shoulder's just been killing me from my backpack
Yeah.
on there. Even though, because you do everything with your right hand, and I'd have to take it off my right shoulder, so it's just hanging here. And, I bring a lot of books to sign, so it's just the weight is on my left shoulder. And my legs have been tired. But, man...
Yeah, I'm still not recovered, man. It's like nothing near what my MegaCon trip was, but I think just because I've been like working extra hours for like 2.5 weeks leading up to this so that my check was good enough to actually get some sketches. So I was like going super hard leading up to it and then do this and then go right back to work with no days off. I'm like, oh, fuck, I shouldn't have done this to myself. But yeah, I mean, like you guys are talking the post-con blues. Like I see everybody's going to Heroes Con this weekend, the weekend that we filmed this. But next weekend's Washington Summer Con, which I went the last 2 years, and I really wanted to go. Like, not only is Ryan Otley there, Frank Cho, some really great artists, but Superman is there. Like Brandon Routh is there, and that would be pretty fucking cool. Again, I'm not a big celebrity guy, but to meet Superman, that would be awesome. And also Tyler Hoechlin or whatever his name is from the recent Superman TV series. He's there as well, and like the animated Superman actor. Like they went all in on the soups this time.
Wow.
And I was telling my wife, like, God damn it, I really want to go to these cons. And she's like, well, are there any close? I'm like, yeah, summer cons only like, I don't know, it's probably a 4-hour drive from here. But I'm like, I just can't pull it off after this. I'm spent. So Rose City it is. I'm looking forward to it. Dude, Sean Murphy, David Finch, Mustafa Musa, like people I just got pieces from are all going to be there. Plus Lee Weeks. So that's going to be a really good con. Definitely worth saving up for. I feel like I always hit Rose City right after I go to Emerald or some other con, or Washington Summer Con. And it's like, oh man, I just spent all my money, but I'm here to get one thing or something like that. Like I got one Joe Benitez sketch once, or I got just my Jeph Loeb stuff signed, last year. And so I want to make sure that I have a good Rose City in September.
Yeah, Lee Weeks is kind of a unicorn piece.
Yeah, and I was really thinking, because obviously you would want a Batman from him, but I was again trying to think of different characters.
Catwoman.
I might want him to be my first Gordon.
Oh,
interesting.
I don't know. I mean, you guys tell me if you think of any other good ideas for Lee Weeks, because I was thinking, I've wanted a Gordon for a while. I really like his style. I think maybe my number one pick would be Tim Sale, who obviously isn't around. But yeah, I don't know. I have so many Batman, Catwoman, Harley sketches that it's like, okay, who else? So we'll see.
Okay.
The end.
Okay.
It's Gramps' bedtime.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. I do apologize. Like I said, we had some personal things come up, but we have episodes recorded. Season 4 is still coming. We're going to get back to work on that very soon, and they will drop this summer. Yes, soon doing the Batgirl of Burnside, but we've already recorded, I think, 5 other episodes. So stay tuned. Season 4 is coming. Make sure to give us all the likety likes and reviewy reviews and the stars and the stuff and the jello and the pudding and the hoo-hoo. And we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.